evening. Today, we're bringing you a report about a crisis that our planet, the Earth, is going into. It's related to how we get our energy, what our energy is, and how much of it we have left. Today, we will help you understand the problems that we as humans are causing to our dear planet.
You might ask, what are these energy resources that we are running out of? What are these non-renewable resources? Well, one example would be coal. Coal is a fossil fuel, just like crude oil and natural gas. You might ask now, what is a fossil fuel anyways? Fossil fuel is a natural fuel formed in the geological past from the remains of living organisms. It's estimated that the average human being uses 15,000 pounds of fossil fuels each year. When you multiply it by the 7.53 billion people that we have on this earth, you get this number.
What is that? It's huge, Tom, huge!
The burning of fossil fuels is really associated with global warming because when you burn fossil fuels, it releases CO2 emissions, methane, and all these things called greenhouse gases. And when these greenhouse gases end up in our atmosphere, they act like a blanket around the Earth. And as the Earth warms up because of this metaphorical blanket, global warming happens. Now, in a controlled facility, our news team will now recreate what is happening to the Earth in a nutshell. This blue guy represents the Earth. He's happy. He's not too warm. He's not too cold. But look, greenhouse gases. In the example, the blanket was a representation of the atmosphere. Now, normally, a blanket around the Earth would be okay, but not a blanket that thick. Because of greenhouse gases, the blanket around the Earth is much thicker than it is supposed to be. So, with all the greenhouse gases up in there, the greenhouse gases trap lots of heat. Normally, with just a little bit of greenhouse gases, the heat would bounce off the ozone layer and reflect back into space and keep the Earth not too hot and not too cold. Well, greenhouse gases, they prevent the UV rays and heat rays from bouncing back out, and they end up being trapped in the atmosphere. To stop the destruction of our planet, we should start using renewable energy resources such as solar energy from solar panels, wind power from wind turbines, hydroelectric power from hydroelectric dams, and geothermal energy from geothermal power plants. A renewable resource is a resource which can be used repeatedly and replaced naturally. Renewable energy almost never runs out. Instead of burning fossil fuels and emitting CO2 and methane into our environment, we should use wind power and solar power and other renewable resources and minimize CO2 and methane emissions into the atmosphere. Solar power and wind power require minimal CO2 and methane emissions to collect and transfer to energy that we would use in our everyday lives. Fossil fuel energy and energy collected from renewable resources are the same. Now, I'll hand it off to Bill Nye, who'll have a few short words on global warming.
Here, I've got an experiment for you. Safety glasses on. By the end of this century, if emissions keep rising, the average temperature on Earth could go up another 4 to 8 degrees. There are a lot of things we could do to put it out. Are any of them free? No, of course not. Nothing's free, you idiots.
And that's the end of tonight's news report.